on to, wow, section 11, post-production notes. Okay, so your post-production notes, what exactly did I want to cover here? Ha ha ha, LOL. This is what we want to cover. So often, folks don't think about this kind of thing because they leave it up to their editor. As you guys are probably picking up on by now, in modular method, nothing is left up to anybody. It is on you. And if you don't want control and you want to just be able to, what is that phrase? Acquiesce. Yes, thank you. See, you guys are great. All right, awesome. Then that's okay. But really, honestly, then just shoot in the traditional method. Yes, it'll take longer. Yes, it'll probably be more money. But if you just want to hand things off to other people, why learn something totally new and different? So one of the things that you guys are then going to have to tackle when you're tackling something on your own through modular method is your title sequence. So there are two places to put your title sequence. Your title sequence is usually an atmospheric, short piece, and it can be very short, like 12 seconds, which is usually called a series opener. That's really not a title sequence, you know. That's like a web series, a little like da 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 da, two chicks and a frog, you know, that kind of thing. Something cute. That's a series that we have on our channel, done by Death by Meerkats. It's a cute little comedy, and or you know, we have something serious like teatro, where we have it's a blood red moon and clouds are moving across this. The music rises, teatro the freak, and then it goes into the episode. So you see, very short or something animated and cute. That's a series opener. Not really covering those today, but those go at the very beginning of your film, your episode. That would be an episode. So if you're writing an episodic series, that would be at the beginning. But there's another place you can put it, and that is after your cold open. So again, let me go back and rephrase. Whether you are working with a series opener, because I guess we can cover it, whether you're working with a series opener, because you're writing an episode, or you're working with a title sequence, which is what you would use for a short film or a feature film, they can go as the very first thing that someone sees, or they can go after your cold open. What is your cold open? Your cold open is your inciting incident. Now, we're going to get to story, craft, and milestones later, but your inciting incident is what sets everything else after in motion. If it weren't for that inciting incident, nothing that happens in the film would ever happen. I really love opening with a cold open and then a title sequence and then going into the film. I love that format. But sometimes you're just like, nope. After my cold open, I need to storm right in.
Well, let me ask you real quick.
So then you put it at the beginning.
Real quick question.
Yes.
In Hollywood, of course, you've got the first thing out is you've got who made the film.
Yes.
The big production, you know, like
Yes.
20th Century Fox. Or
Yes.
What's that?
Mostly what Hollywood does is they open with their title sequence,
Right.
and they talk about, you know, like Blue Forge Films presents,
Right.
in association with Death by Meerkats, Bobby's Films, and Lee X. An original short film, filmed by Farishka Frosh,
Right.
casted by Jodie and Heidi,
Yeah.
original score by blah blah blah, and all the other names that have negotiated to have their shit in front of the film.
Right.
And then finally, Bobby's Vacation, you know.
Cool.
So that would be opening with, I'm sorry, Bobby.
Okay.
That would be opening. So that would have your title sequence opening, and then you'd go into your cold open and the rest of it. But it is completely acceptable to start with your cold open, have your title sequence that has all of that crap in it, and then move into your film. See what works for you. Literally, the last two films I did, one of them it really worked for it to be a title sequence separate from the film, tacked on after the fact. And yet with Jared's house, there was this long time lapse that needed to happen that showed day, night at this hostel, like an Airbnb, and people coming and going, and I'm like, oh, snap, that's when we're gonna do all of this gobbledygook. That's our title sequence, and it was after the cold open. So there you go.
So the cold open is just, it's an actual shot Scene.
A scene.
A scene.
A
It's not close
scene.
enough.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
it is never, I would say it usually isn't longer than a scene, but it can be a lengthy scene. You know, like how sometimes like a scene will drag a little bit on and then they have the title sequence and you're like, dude, this was a, and you know, we see that also in network television.
Oh, yeah.
The Good Doctor always does their cold open, then their title sequence. The
Criminal
Orville,
Minds says-
there you go. So, but either of those are perfectly fine. It's not like one is television and one is film. It's totally stylistic. Okay, so you have your title sequence, we already talked about that. Then, as you guys know, we go to credits at the end. And then after the credits, you should have your company splash. Now, there seems to be someone over in Seattle, and I'm trying to pin down who it is, that is telling filmmakers that their splash can be any length. That is absolutely not true, and what's worse
Who the hell
is
would-
what does
What does it mean by company
a
splash?
company splash is the little thing, you've probably seen it on our page a million times. Ours is some gears and they're turning and some blue letters say blue for
That's
credit.
your little trademark.
Exactly,
copyright
our little
thing.
trade, like,
Yeah.
a
Okay.
couple of, so there's a couple of fallacies about what a company splash is. A
Right.
company splash should first of all be 5 seconds or less in length. It should not fade in or fade out. It should just start and end.
Right, no fading.
Your editor will, no proper editor will ever fade in or out of your splash.
Right.
They'll cut too, so those full
Yeah.
5 seconds are there. Don't even go a frame past 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Now, your splash should have some kind of movement or some kind of sound. And music is fine. The other fallacy that's going around is that your company name and your splash have to make it very clear that you're a film studio. So like it needs to have like a camera
Yeah.
or a director's slate, or the cutest splash ever created by God or man or woman is Bad Robot.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad
Yeah.
Robot.
Oh, I know.
It's just like this little robot, and like, and they're like a
Bad Robot.
major multi, you know what I mean? And your splash should speak to you. And you know what? If it's literally, you take a camera, or your wife takes a camera, points it at your hand, and it's your hand
Oh, yeah.
mark filling out a director's slate for your
Yeah,
first day of
yeah.
shooting, and that becomes your splash, do it.
So
It should
has to
be,
be the same one each time? I mean, you
Yes.
can't create a new one?
yes, it has to be the same one, and the thing that is tricky, now like for instance, when we went from being a not-for-profit Washington registered charity to being a federal nonprofit,
Yeah.
we had some legal ramifications. We had to change this division's name from Blue Forge Productions to Blue Forge Films. I was heartbroken because it has been drilled into my brain. You do not change your splash. It is your brand. And to this day, literally, half of our actors still refer to the company as Blue Forge Productions.
Well, see, I thought, yeah, I keep talking.
Which is, I mean, I can't get mad because
Yeah.
I didn't want to change it.
Yeah.
But we had to fall into line this way. So our splash, I literally just changed the word productions to films. I changed nothing else on the splash.
Yeah.
So, because I'm like, that is our brand. That's what people start to think of. You know, like DreamWorks with the little boy fishing
Yeah.
off
Oh, yeah,
the
that's-
deal.
Yeah, yeah.
It becomes this thing. I can't tell you right now a single show that Bad Robot's done, but I know Bad Robot, and I know that now they don't just do
Clover.
TV.
Cloverfield.
There we go, see? So,
Bad
you know, it's all this kind of stuff. Okay,
Big thing.
so that's your company, Splash. And then other post-production notes that I say here. This isn't the script, but I thought that this would fit here in post-production. No, it actually doesn't fit here in post-production. It fits in production, but I obviously didn't cover it. So I'm going to cover it here. Support your supporting actors. So we've already talked about, and I think it's okay to, it bears some repeating. We can repeat it in this segment. Know your actors' names. Talk to them by your names. I've told both of my kids, I said, girl, boy, it doesn't matter. Orientation, it doesn't matter. People like to hear their own
Yep.
name, okay? And it makes someone feel like you actually know them and care about them. And that is not a touchy-feely chick director thing. That is just make people feel respected, because sometimes we ask our actors to do things that suck. Like we realize, oh my God, they have one line, but we're shooting chronologically and they're in the last shot.
Right.
They're gonna be here
All
for
day.
6 hours because I promised folks that we're gonna shoot chronologically today because it's really intense stuff. no wonder I gave Daryl that lead in Trees Have Names.
Yeah.
Like, that's a real story, you know? And it wasn't until after the fact that I realized, that's wrong. You need to do better than that, Jennifer. So, talk to people, use their names. Ask them if they're okay. You know, you guys, you need a minute? It's
Yeah.
okay if someone frickin' needs a minute. Also, this is a hands down, like I said, you do not physically move your actors.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
God, that pisses me off.
yes, when I had Max, I had a stroke. And then I had Faith 2.5 years later. And this time I made it through, because she was a C-section, just fine. And within the first 6 months, I had a second stroke. And I always beat myself up. And I always say to Brianne, you didn't get to know me before I'd had 2 strokes.
Right.
I never lost a word. I always knew how to pronounce something. And I never had any verbal stutters, such as like, because I had loved speech and debate in school. And so, you speak very, very, and like when I look at videos of, stuff I've done with MTV or stuff I did when I was on tour, I'm like, oh, that used to be me, and she's like, you speak fine.
You do.
You're fine. But I always like to say, sometimes people need that extra moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Christopher says, Jennifer, did you like that take? Yeah, I love that take. We're about to go on to the next shot. I think I could give it to you better. Could I do it again? You say yes. Because you know what, in the time it takes you to go, I really got what I wanted, you could have redone the shot.
Yeah.
So.
And it also makes them bitter towards, say,
Yeah.
not wanting to
And
say,
rush.
hey, check this out.
Right, absolutely. If they feel like, no, I didn't do my best work, you know damn well they're not going to share the links when everything comes out.
You're devaluing their gift.
Yes, exactly. Now, I'm not saying you have to use Christopher's second take. That's up to you and your editor. But let it be a choice, an option. I'll go back to what we touched on earlier today. Do not let a crew member run roughshod over you.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the buck stops with you, especially if you're signed with us as a partner. The distributors are going to be like, why did Christopher do that? They're not going to be like,
Yeah, I know.
why did Frischke Frosch, the camera operator, do that? So it's going to be that kind of thing. Okay, so we treat our actors with respect. There might be plentiful actors, but they are not a dime a dozen.
Right.
And we want them to want to work with us again. And more than that, we want them to help us create buzz for the project.
Yeah.
Sure.
So there we go. And we are done with that section.